Hello everyone, this is Serious Trivia. Welcome back to another patch breakdown for patch 1.5, and today we'll be talking about all the bug fixes that were added in for patch 1.5. So let's just jump in here. First off, from diplomacy screen, fix the issue where abdication has disappeared as a diplomatic option. So this was one of the issues we had when we played Mandate of Heaven, both in our Liu Chong and Liu Bei campaigns, where we couldn't actually get abdicate at the end of the game. And it really slowed down the pacing because usually if you take the emperor seat, the faction abdicates to you and you pretty much wipe out a whole kingdom. Now that it's back, pretty good. War coordination now worked correctly, unlocked for Liu Hong by warlord influence. So I believe this was locked behind like the tier 3 warlord influence, and it wasn't available. But I know that I think with this new patch and the DLC update, I think Mandate of Heaven got a whole slew of new bugs, including fervor not dying down, and I think all the 3 influence factors for Liu Hong no longer work properly either. So gotta wait for patch 1.5.1 to go back to Mandate of Heaven to play that. Fixed issue where it was impossible to make peace within alliance wars after leaving an empire, and other issues around alliance, coalition, and being unable to make peace. Please note that while this fix won't be applied to existing saves, it will stop the situation happening in the first place. So this has been weird issues ever since patch 1.1 or 2, where like if you are in a situation with alliance war, you couldn't make peace. In this situation, it has to do more of the fact that you were in an empire and then you left and then you're stuck in this war. They're probably going to see more of these as they add in different types of relationship, vassals, coalitions, alliances, empire. It's a bit confusing, and sometimes the AI logic behind that isn't coded so great, so that's another issue. And this likely to impact existing campaign, which involves active alliance wars. So it shouldn't bother you too much. At least they fixed some part of it for your new campaigns. Fixed issue where it was possible to invite other emperors into your empire. Okay, that's definitely an oversight. Fixed issues where the deal value number was missing on the proposed deal make deal work button. I really never used the make deal work button, so I probably never experienced this one myself. Fixed missing follow-up negotiation for empires. Declare war on empire members will now result in them being able to ask for assistance. Okay, so since we don't use many empires, from my experience since it was introduced in Mandate of Heaven, haven't really seen these. Don't know exactly what this is talking about, but seems like they're trying to tweak a lot of things with empires. I'm sure there's still tons of bugs, but they're getting to it. Fixed missing voiceover line for Liu Hong's annexation of subjects. Okay, that's just something missing added back in. And continuing on to characters. When other characters are given Liu Chong's crossbow, they now fire it correctly, and Liu Chong no longer fires bows like a crossbow when he is given one. So I think this is just lazy animation programming, where they assume that Liu Chong is always going to use that crossbow, and they did a unique animation on the character Liu Chong instead of on the item, so that the game is treating the item as a bow for everyone. So everyone who equips this bow, except for Liu Chong, fires the crossbow like a bow, and then when you give Liu Chong a bow instead of a crossbow, he will fire the animation that's programmed on the character and fire the bow like a crossbow. So now they correctly applied the animation onto the crossbow item so that whoever holds the crossbow can fire it like a crossbow, and Liu Chong no longer is the only person who's programmed to do so. So I think it's more lazy modeling work, right? That way you only have to model Liu Chong to shoot a crossbow, but they didn't think about what happens when you move the crossbow to other people. Fixed issue where certain character insults and responses weren't being played. Well, hard for us to know if they weren't played in the first place, but now I guess we'll see more insults and responses. Fixed issue where conversation system was sometimes breaking with female characters. Okay. Also something we don't notice if we don't experience it. It's not triggering. Zhao Yun's blue blade now correctly applies its armor reduction. So this is probably more important for the 194 start now that they decided to give Zhao Yun over to Liu Bei's faction and also have him start with a blue blade. We talked about this in the preview video for Liu Bei. This is both historically inaccurate Zhao Yun pretty much left Gongsun Zan around 192 because his older brother died. So he went back for a funeral, and he didn't return to Gongsun Zan after that point because he was never really happy there. And then Zhao Yun basically chilled for about 7 years. There's not any records of where he was at in the Romance of the Three Kingdoms version. It just says he was wandering around. He bumps into Liu Bei again right around Guandu's area, if we're going to have a DLC for that next. So he rejoined Liu Bei directly after that point, but probably around 199. So having him start in 194 is a little weird. Obviously, you might think about how he was given over in an event in the 190 start, but you can just think about it as a sandbox mode. If they're trying to keep things historically relevant at the start of the year you pick, then he shouldn't be here in 194, right? He should probably trigger through in the event afterward. And he definitely shouldn't have the blue blade, because that's what's our main gripe, is because he doesn't get the blue blade, which is Cao Cao's weapon. Cao Cao has two famous sword, Trust of God and the blue blade. And the blue blade was carried by, I believe, Xiahou En, maybe Xiahou Jie. It's one of them. I keep getting them mixed up. One of them died to a roar by Zhang Fei at the Battle of Changban. One of them died holding the blade as a sword bearer, and Zhao Yun killed him with his spear and then took the blade for his own. Basically, one of them carried the blade for Cao Cao on the battlefield, and then Zhao Yun, during his heroics during Changban, kills him, takes the blade, and then ever since keeps the blade. But anyways, in game, the blade has a minus 50% armor reduction, similar to the sword of Xiang Yu, or the blade of Xiang Yu that Dong Zhuo had. It wasn't applying the armor reduction on the enemy like it should. Now it does. It only makes Zhao Yun stronger. He's definitely the strongest duelist in the game once you fully level him up. Just tons of evasion, and his unique ability is also very good for dueling. Fixed issues where options for default mount would disappear for some character after they've been given a new mount. I think this still happens. This also happens for weapons for some characters, where you can't unequip things unless you give them a new thing. So it's like if you give them like a bronze brown mount, all the basic mount options would disappear. And then you can get them back if you can't remove the mount you give them, because there's no default option they can give them unless you have like another mount. Like, you have another silver brown or like a bronze blue, cunning mount. You can switch them. And then sometimes you see the default option showing up. It happens with weapons too. Some characters, if you give them like a bronze Ji, and then all their default weapon goes away. So they should definitely look into that as well. Fixed Dong Zhuo's flyby look in Mandate of campaign. So maybe there's something wrong with the flyby in the Mandate campaign at the beginning of the game. I don't think I noticed it before, but now I guess they improved that. Fix for Sima Yi and Zhuge Liang spawn twice in some campaigns. Yeah, this still happens. This happened back when the game was released, and this also happened for Guan Yu and Zhang Fei during the Mandate of Heaven release. And I think you can still spawn Zhou Yu twice right now, because Sun Ce's campaign option on turn 2 can sometimes spawn you Zhou Yu even if you refuse, and then he will spawn later as well. So I think there's a glitch there too. Gan Ning now has correct equipment in Mandate campaign. So we suffer from this because he couldn't use Hell of Arrow at all because he still had the generic Vanguard weapon choices. He needs to be holding Sentinel weapons for him to be able to use Hail of Arrow on the character. But he still has all the Vanguard weapons in Mandate. So I think they fixed that now. Fixed issue where Dong Zhuo was appearing as small Dong instead of large Dong in custom and multiplayer battles. So I think the default Dong Zhuo is now going to be large Dong, or the original one. That's cool. And moving on, this is the most important part that's in the bug fixes section. They added resiliency for the following characters: Lu Meng, Da Qiao, Jiang Wei, Zhou Tai, Lu Xun, Xiao Qiao, Wei Yan, Zhang He, Ma Dai, Luo Jun, Xun Yu, Xu You, Chen Pu, Diao Chan, Xun You, Huang Fusong, Cao Pi, Lady Bian, Cai Yan, and Pang De. So what's so cool about this is you can kind of guess who's going to get unique models in the future, right? Because Da Qiao, Xiao Qiao, Zhou Tai already got their models in this DLC. And who else? Well, Xun Yu had it. Chen Pu got his. Jiao Chan had his. Huang Fusong had his in Mandate of Heaven. But basically, you get the default layer of resiliency. So I think these characters are the ones you see a higher chance of getting a unique model. If depending on the chapter pack we get next, right? I think they highlight certain factions, like they highlighted Sun Ce and Lu Bu this time. So that's why we got people like Gao Shun, we got people like the two Zhangs, Zhang Hong and Zhang Zhao. So if we get a future DLC that features, let's say, Ma Teng's faction, then you probably be Ma Chao leading it. Then you see Ma Dai, who's Ma Chao's cousin. And then you see Pang De, who was a general that stayed with Ma Teng and then Ma Chao all throughout the campaigns. And then if you have farther Wu DLCs, maybe around Chibi's time, or maybe even later when you have Kingdom of Wu against Kingdom of Shu, then maybe Lu Meng, Lu Xun would be more featured. If you do what's logically next, with the Guandu as the next time period, around 198, 200-ish, then you're likely to see from this list Zhang He, right? Cao Pi. Who else? Xu You, right? That's a strategist for Yuan Shao who betrays in a very big story there. But basically, you see these characters. Also, obviously, there's other ones who already has resiliency but doesn't have a model, like say Wen Liang Yan Chou. So I think from this list we can kind of guess who's eventually going to get a model. And Cao Pi is on here too for Guandu, because he's going to probably trigger Zhenji to be added into the game as well, who is Yuan Xi's wife and then becomes Cao Pi's wife, and then set up to be the Empress and then Cao Rui's mother. So definitely an important character as well. Moving on, campaign bug fixes. Fixed issue when being attacked by looters that only the offer surrender options available. So this is a Mandate of Heaven issue. Update the Emperor token waiting to be much more consistent and less erratic. This is depending on who the Emperor wants to run to after leaving someone. Fixed issue where Sima Ai couldn't recruit his unique Archer of Jin and other unique unit to the 8 Princes campaign. So you can definitely do this before when we played it on release. So probably some other patch messed it up and now they fixed it. Fixed issue with population growth using the wrong scope in many places, meaning the UI showing growth by population was not actually growing as expected. We haven't noticed that, but that would be a really bad thing if it's showing you but not growing actually. Fixed issue where Tao Qian's assignment wasn't correctly affecting the population. Okay, that's probably pretty key. Fixed where hotkey for Imperial Core was not working. Fixed issue where settlement couldn't be annexed correctly. Interesting. Fixed issue where fervor was not being removed from UI after the end of the Mandate War. Oh. I didn't know that was supposed to happen. Then again, we didn't end the Mandate War in one of our campaigns and still won. Fix for 2 Mandate achievement not triggering correctly. Fixed issue where Yuan Shao and other factions in the Mandate campaign could re-emerge multiple times, like Lu Bu. Fixed issue where Ma Teng's forging stance incorrectly states that army can move in the stance. Wow. Fixed issue where Qiang units were not properly being unlocked by building for Ma Teng. Fixed issue where unique attribute were not always preventing them from having children. Minus 1,000% of having child is not stopping them from having children. Strong genes there. Fixed for Dongzhuo's death cutscene playing in Mandate, even if you haven't seized the Emperor. Fixed issue where Liu Chong was using the wrong progression level in the 190 campaign and made sure he and Lu Zhi used the right faction names when ranking up as well. I thought Lu Zhi's faction name was just Lu Zhi and Liu Chong's would just be Chen, right? Fixed issue where Zhang Yan's unique building could only be constructed in his starting capital. Good. This is a big fix. The building is still faction unique, but can be constructed in other settlements now if the capital is lost. So this is a huge fix. This has been a problem since the game came out. If you lose Yemen, and then someone converts your capital building, then you can never build your faction unique building ever again. So this is a great fix. No one else can get Sima Yong's AI personality anymore, okay? And Yao Chan will no longer get Cao Cao's. That's probably just the oversight. Yuan Shu Emperor event no longer triggers in Mandate if he is a vassal. Okay. Lowered So this is a transition event they probably added back in for Mandate of Heaven, because you can only get the 197 event now in the new DLC. Lowered Yellow Turban faction potential in Mandate campaign where playing on easy difficulty. Yeah, I think if you don't play on Legendary, Yellow Turbans sometimes can overwhelm and win the game very easily. Zhang Liang is less aggressive when you are Liu Bei on easy, normal, hard difficulty in Mandate campaign. So they're making it a little easier for you to play Liu Bei early on, or else as you move around the looter, Zhang Liang might expand too much and destroy you and also take Ping Yuan, but I guess it doesn't affect the very hard and legendary difficulty. Mandate faction no longer have access to Cao Cao's units. Good, because we played against so many Tigers and Leopard cavalry when we did our Mandate campaigns. Like literally every faction had them, and it was so rare. We were hating Cao Cao so much. Like he was not only making difficult for us to win the game, he was also loaning units out to every faction, or that's how it felt. Fixed issue where when transitioning to an empire where the person in the prime minister slot will remain a prime minister but not show on the court screen, they now become the imperial chancellor. Okay, I didn't know this was a bug, but if it was a bug, that's a nice bug, because then you get like a hidden character. Didn't know that was possible. Reduced negative replenishment for imperial army. That's a interesting balance change, because minus 22%, or I think that's what it was, wasn't that bad. Like it made you become pretty creative to how to heal up your army. Fix the phantom slot in Nanhai's capital in Mandate campaign that exists once the settlement is colonized. Yes, you see an extra one for some reason. Fix for merchant warehouse requiring 2 technology to unlock as Yellow Turbans in Mandate campaign. Never played as Yellow Turban in Mandate, so don't know that. Adjusted scope of post-battle capture rate bonus for patient skill to make sure it is applying. Yes, this was a big issue for our Sun Jian Total War campaign. I stacked like 6 guys with patience and we couldn't capture people. It should have been a plus 150%. We should have been able to capture the people we wanted to, but we couldn't. But I guess now we can, so that's good. Fix the end turn crash after becoming emperor. Is that what happened to our campaign? No, I think what happened to our campaign was Kong being very angry at us. It's where we backstabbed Sun Quan or Sun Ce, and then immediately we got punished. Reduced replenishment penalty from denied military supply spy action from minus 50% to minus 10% to better balance, as the previous armies hit by the action could essentially not replenish for 5 turns. Okay, so I think it's just a logic situation. 50 right away or 10 for 5. I don't know how that actually works, but never really used it. Right now you're just using supplies for discrediting characters, still collecting characters. Don't really need helps for battles. Fixed edge case where garrison could disappear whilst under siege if the garrison was due to be upgraded to imperial garrison. Oh, interesting. So that's only applied to cities where they're applying to if you have them as imperial capital, I guess. That's a very rare case. Okay. Typo in retinue deployment text. Corrected from paid to paid. Okay. Typo Fury versus in Magnet Dilemma bid to bid. Fixed typo in Peach Garden event. Okay. Just typos. And lastly, for battles, stop hitting yourself. Fixed bug in duel where there was a random chance the defender would apply the attacker's damage to the attacker instead of their own. Okay, that happens. That would really suck. Glad they fixed that. Qiang Raiders melee attack rate changed from 50 to 15. Was 50 a mistake or on purpose? Because it sounds crazy for the Qiang Raiders to be able to have a 50 attack rate. They're already fatigue immune and insanely good at charging. Defender of Earth now have access to Caltrap. Okay, so they're adding Caltraps to more elite units. But isn't Defender of Earth a range unit? Or are they Protector? No, Protector of Heaven's a spear unit. Defender of Earth should be the range unit. Shouldn't they have smokescreen instead? Not sure. Guojia's Foresight ability, so it correctly labels as passive. Cool. So you can see the forest if you need to. Fixed issue in multiplayer campaign where AI army were not taking settlements when the player chooses to delegate battle. Fixed issue where multiple of the same character could be used in rank battle. So that has been abused way back. There's still tons of multiplayer bugs. So all sorts of bugs you see in solo play for campaigns, you see multiple bugs in multiplayer campaigns. So they really want to fix that. The list will be huge. But this is all the bug fixes. So that wraps up this patch rundown. We'll be back tomorrow with the miscellaneous things like spies and court changes. Once again, after we finish this series, we'll be doing more detailed bandit guides to cover all the bandit and free LC changes in the patch note. We're not going to really discuss them here for this series. So hope you guys enjoyed this one, and see you next time. Bye!